All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Karina, and my pronouns are she, her, and I work at the Children's Museum and MuseumLab. And I'm super excited to be welcoming everyone to the Virtual Youth Expo. We've got our after-schoolers here with us on Zoom. Welcome to all of you. And we have our friends and family and community with us on YouTube. So welcome to you as well. Thanks for being here. We want to really quick thank the Grable Foundation. Their funding is what made this event possible. It is also what made our after school programs possible at both Assemble and MuseumLab. And those are the folks who are with us today. Throughout the year, I've been sort of a behind the scenes supporting character in after school. And today we're really here to showcase the students who have been with us throughout the year and all the work and energy that they've been putting in throughout the year. So everything that you're going to see today is created by them. We've got a bunch of video interviews to share with you and some conversation, and all of the questions were developed by our after schoolers, really based on what they were excited to talk with you all about and to share with you. And we've got some conversation with our educators, and those are also prompted by questions that our youth had for the educators that they work with every day. So I think we're gonna have a lot of fun. Thank you for being here. After schoolers, a reminder that you're super welcome to have your video on or off, up to you, and feel free to jump in or out of the conversation as you want. I think it's no surprise when I say that this year has been a challenging and unusual one for all of us. And so I'm gonna, Suzanne, I'll kick it off to our first video. This is a video that's just kind of gonna kick it off by sharing a little bit about our youth's perspective on what this year has been like.
I'd say virtual school has been harder.
Virtual school has been a little bit hard.
It's so difficult. I hate it so much.
To me, it really isn't that hard.
It's been much harder. I don't like it. I don't like it.
I really disliked it. I felt like it kind of limited what I could do. Projects were more confined, and I really felt like I couldn't really express myself to my classmates and my teachers because I was doing it through a screen.
Virtual school has been harder because I don't get to see my friends in person and have the social interaction.
Sometimes if your teacher forgets to join the meeting, like, you have no idea what's going on.
Teachers think you can do more work when you're online than you are in real life, so you have more pressure on yourself.
It gets annoying sometimes of how much work we get.
There's so many distractions that can distract you from learning.
It's like you have to get on class and you have the ability to do something else. And most of the times, I do take that ability.
Another way it's harder is that some people don't have the technology to do virtual school.
If you don't have Wi-Fi, you can't do anything. But it's also been easier because you can stay up later and sleep in longer.
We get to sleep in longer.
I don't have to wake up as early.
Definitely one of the only ways it's been easier.
Maybe an introvert, but I still like to be around people. After school really helped. I could just go on for an hour and a half and just be around people talking and creating art together. It really made me feel like I had a community that I could connect and talk to.
It's really fun because like we've grown such a nice community and it just feels good to talk to other people.
I learned that you don't need to be related by blood or anything to think of people as your family. Because in after school, we treat each other like we are a part of a big family. Like whenever we're working together, showing off our drawings or anything that we do, they're just so nice about it. They don't bring people down, even though they might not like it. They still like build each other up like a family would.
Can we hear you?
Oh my goodness, are you gonna cry?
I'm trying not to. I'm just.
Something that I learned from being in after school this year. Well, I love how everybody has different causes that they like and how you can learn more about it during after school. Like if something important happened, somebody will tell you. And I like how you can be on top of some things even if you don't really pay attention to it out of after school. And I like how everybody likes different things.
I feel like everyone's at Assemble is like different, and that's a good thing because everyone brings something new to the table.
During after school, I've learned that I'm able to open up and try all different kinds of things. Before after school, if I was like given like paintbrush, markers, and then clay, I probably would have chose the markers. But now that if that happened to me again, I want to try something new.
I also like the materials we get because I do use those a lot. And yeah, it's just very like calming to me. It's like a yoga session without me doing anything.
I really enjoyed that instead of giving projects, they really just gave you prompts and you could kind of think of how you wanted to interpret that.
I have drawn myself multiple times and realized that over time, after I came out as trans, it's more coming into what I really want to be than what people made me to be and put me into this box. So drawing art helps me get out of that box, basically.
Normally I don't like talking about how I feel, but after school has helped a lot because we can like basically draw or write and how we feel and then we can describe it, but we don't have to describe all of it. They can understand by what we drew or wrote. And I feel like that's really helpful, and now I like expressing myself more through art.
All right, that was just really fun to watch. Thank you all for that. I think that video might have actually cut out right before there was a question at the end of that video, and that question was, what inspires you to do the things that we do in after school? And I'm curious to hear from, I think, all of our educators, but Devin, can I kick that off to you first? Maybe introduce yourself and share with us a little bit about how you got your inspiration for what you do in after school?
Yeah, sure. So hello, everyone. My name is Devin. I go by she, they pronouns, and I work with Assemble. So I led our after school sessions with the kids this past year. And I think I like to think about like what I would want to learn if I was a student, but also currently as well as an educator. I still love learning new things. And I think that after school is a great way for me to both teach and discover new art projects that I've never done before. I think like one of my favorite things though is getting to learn a little bit about the kids that I'm teaching and then learning like what inspires them and coming up with ideas based on their interests. And it's just like a really good opportunity to, I guess when kids feel empowered, I think is when I learn the most from them, which is a really good feeling. So yeah. I'd love to hear what some of the other educators think as well. If I could maybe toss it to either Caitlin or Kay or Samir. If one of you want to jump in, that'd be great.
Sure, I'll jump in. I am inspired, or Caitlin and I think both are inspired by the conversations that we have with you guys. Like we pick up on what you guys want to learn and what you guys are interested in, and then we try to plan around that. So, and a lot also, you know, just introducing you guys to probably new mediums that you probably haven't tried before too.
Yeah, I would agree. My name's Samir. I enjoyed like basing the lessons and stuff off of what you all are passionate about. Because a lot of the times what you're passionate about isn't necessarily things that I know about. So I get to learn a lot more too.
Yeah, I think just playing off of things everyone else has said, what excites you guys. And then it's also exciting, I think, for Kay and I to get to think about, to learn about some of those topics and think about how we can send you guys supplies and turn it into a lesson. And yeah, so responding to the energy that you were bringing into after school was how we definitely helped come up with the calendar and things like that.
Yeah, and also let me add to that, and some of those conversations about what you guys have seen on TikTok. like our glass.
Totally.
Inspired by some of the videos that you guys probably saw on TikTok.
Also picking up a little on maybe what Caitlin and Samir were both saying about how sometimes what you were interested in was something that maybe the educators didn't always know about. And so that was a thing that maybe was pushing them sometimes to learn new things so that they could do it with you. And I'm curious from the educators if there was any like particularly challenging, like, oh, like after school is so into this and I know nothing about it kind of thing.
I didn't know much about mushrooms, so that was a big learning curve, but a really fun one. And now we have some tasty mushrooms to eat.
I did a lesson on origami, and I didn't actually know that many different origami techniques. I knew enough to like, you know, get started in what I thought the kids would be interested in. And then they completely showed me up. They're like, we know all of these already and then some. So the entire lesson actually switched around and they ended up teaching me different origami techniques for the entire class.
And for me, I think the biggest thing that I learned from you guys that I didn't know before that I've always been curious about is Among Us. I saw Representative Alexandria Cortez talking about that during the election season, and I've always been like curious about it, and everybody was playing it. So when you guys were interested in playing it, I was like, okay, here's the moment for me to download it and find out what it's about. So it's been super cool playing with you guys, even though I always lose. So
yeah, virtual after school was definitely like tough in some ways, but it was an opportunity to try new things like Among Us in like a virtual space. So we played a lot of like really cool online games and things like that that I'd never done before.
Before we move on, I want to make sure we hold space for if there are any after schoolers who have thoughts or questions they want to add into the mix. You could stick it in Zoom or just unmute yourself if you want, but no pressure.
Something that I loved about after school is that they gave us like a prompt or something to do, but then we could also just do whatever we wanted. So like if you just felt like drawing, then you could do that too, and that's something I really liked.
I also really liked how there was like there wasn't any pressure, like you have to do this a certain way. This is kind of like what Louise said, but like there's never any pressure to do something that you don't want to do.
I like the fact that when we did after school, it always almost like every single week we got new materials. So we got a chance to learn a different art style, a different way of doing things, some different interests that we didn't know that we were interested in the first place. So we like kind of like found a piece of ourselves that we never would have found if we never went to after school.
And I like how they also introduced us to some different kinds of cultures, like how we did the ink painting and stuff. I thought that was really cool.
Jameer and Louise, you both have like a really perfect segue into our next video. I don't know if everyone who's watching on YouTube knows that the after school program was sort of a mix of arts and making and social justice and how those two things can intersect. But our next video is a little bit of a showcase of some of the art that was created throughout the year. And I'm really excited to give everyone a sneak peek into sort of the creative genius behind this crew. So Suzanne, I'll kick it off to you for that second video.
So this is my art. I made this out of a chopstick, a rubber band, and some paper. I like it because it's a different style, and also I get to put a lot of myself into how it looks.
This is my cityscape glass painting. I really like this because I love sunsets, and this was kind of like a different type of sunset. It's kind of like a blue and purple pastel sunset.
I like the simplicity of it. It's just like black and white. I don't know, it's just really like beautiful.
I drew it out with pencil, then went in with alcohol with markers, and then just around it with the fine point markers.
What I am currently working on is a tiger in the water, and I'm currently working on the water. I want it to kind of look like transparent, but you can see the tiger behind it, but not like you can see through the glass. It represents a tiger out in the wild free, not worrying about its forest being cut down, not worrying about food running low, not worrying about water being polluted.
This is like one of my favorites because I love growing plants and like being out with nature.
So this person right here, his name is Kimma, and he's like my favorite anime volleyball character. I decided to want to draw him because it was really simple and he was really cute, and I really liked how the jacket turned out.
I think it was to make like overlapping characters, so make a shadow behind it or something. I kind of forget because it was one of the first projects, I think. And what made me to make it this way is from this music collective I really like, Spider Gang, that's why it's called that.
I like to make posters so I can kind of speak up against social injustices through my type of art that I like to make.
We started talking about the past, and then my mom was like, no matter what, wherever you go, whatever you do, know what you're worth. It inspired me to write know your worth down here. It's a Black Lives Matter poster. It has quotes that are supposed to be inspiring about Black Lives Matter. When I make art, it's more of I have an idea and I want to put it on paper so I can remember that idea in case that I want to do something else and add to it.
I really like getting my ideas down on paper where I can see them. That just helps me get my thoughts together.
I love expressing myself, and I love getting my ideas out there that I can't really just say. It helps me a lot with like what words can't really say, and just like important things.
Some things that inspire my art are like movies and TV shows, and it's mainly just of the emotions I get, like how I feel whenever I'm watching it. So then I just like draw that and put it onto a piece of paper.
I started wanting to make art when I started watching anime because it really like looked really nice and it looked fun to draw. So I started to learn how to draw it, and I kept practicing and I actually got better at it.
I think what I do is that I analyze the song and make it into like a character almost and figure out what that person would look like if it was a real person.
I see a lot of like really cool art on social media and throughout the community. I've seen like painted rocks and murals, and they're just really inspiring.
I really just like making art and like making people smile, like when they look at it, make them feel happy. Like I mainly just like to draw stuff that makes people happy.
Some things that inspire my art is things that I learn about or I'm passionate about. Like sometimes I will paint my family, and sometimes I will paint what I hope the world would be, and sometimes I paint something that is happening that I want to change.
Something that makes me want to make art is the feel that you can like make anything you want. Like there are no limits to it, like there's no rules at all.
I would ask like, what is your favorite part about after school? Because we do like lots of things in after school, and a lot of people like the most like everything that we do in after school. So I would say like ask, what is your favorite part in after school?
All right. So fun to see that. I've watched that video a bunch of times, and I'm going to watch it more times after this event. But thank you for that question. What is your favorite part of after school? I think this is a question I'd love to hear from educators and after schoolers. We can just kind of mix it all together, but maybe I'll pass this one off to Kay for starters.
So my name is Kay. I am a teaching artist, and I co-run after-school program with Caitlin at MuseumLab. One of my favorite parts of after school, because there are many parts that are like at the top. Is getting to know you guys and what you guys are interested in, and then also seeing peaks of your personality. So like the fact that Breslin is like writing this cool novel about like climate change, and she's starting this group. And then Eben, he likes poetry and theater. Marina, she likes tiny homes and bands. I know that Jameer, he loves like video games and anime, and his nickname is Yoshi. Grace is super competitive, and I love that. Louise is super awesome, and she loves animals. So like getting to know all those things. And Dylan, he loves like movies, and he's really awesome at like creating illustrations, and he's really great at using markers and ink markers and things like that. So just getting to know like little bits about you guys, I think is like the highlight of after school. It's like, wow, I'm just like imagining like who you guys are going to be when you guys get older, you know, and where your art is going to go and how it's going to grow. So those are like my favorite parts of after school.
I think I'll jump in after that if that's cool. I want to agree with what Kay was saying, that getting to know you all was my favorite part. But once again, there were amazing parts about it. But some of my favorite moments were the like 20 to 30 minutes before we like really dug in on a project or a prompt for after school, just talking about like what you did over the weekend, or like how something you're working on is going, or like what recipe you tried, and just like really getting to like chat and hang, and sometimes like vent and process and tell jokes, or like whatever. That window of time always felt really special. And then the game day, because it was like most of that. Just some of like the hardest I feel like I've laughed this year were during game days. So those are some really special moments that I loved about after school.
That's how we know that Grace is so competitive.
Yeah.
Something I love.
Oh,
you can go first. Yeah, something I loved about after school, like Caitlin said, was like when we would just talk and hang out. We had like a hour conversation about fruit and vegetables, and there was like so much stuff that I learned that I was like, oh my god, I have to tell the people at after school this.
Yeah, definitely. That feeling of just like hanging out with folks while we're making something is really therapeutic, and hearing about everyone's days and the things that they're interested in was so much fun. I really loved it when I could see when kids are like taking their projects further after school. They would sometimes send me pictures, and I would get to see like things that they had worked on outside of after school, or they would like update me on their projects. Like I think just last week, Mahin was sending me photos of his mushrooms growing, like, and with like titles of like what day it was. So like it was like the mushrooms were getting progressively bigger and bigger and bigger. And I love that so much, like seeing the projects like really come to life, literally.
I wanted to shout out also, there's a comment on YouTube from Doherty's mom, how much she loved seeing all of the projects that got worked on over time, and especially that terrarium was a highlight, I think. So I wanted to shout out that comment. And I also thought I would share too. So I was more behind the scenes. I wasn't involved in after school on a daily basis, but occasionally I would come in to join. And one thing that I was super impressed by and honestly really inspired by was just the relationships and the community that you guys have all built up together, and how supportive all of you have become for each other. That was something that honestly has really inspired the way that I've been trying to think about my relationships during this pandemic as well. So thank you. Anyone who wants to pop in again before we move on to our next video?
I'll just share my favorite part of after school. I really loved the laughs that we shared together, and we always made each other smile. And one thing I noticed when I reflect on all the art projects, I noticed that we never disagreed. we would always just like come up with something that we could all do and that we could all share together. We just like grow such a good community that we would never disagree, and we would always make each other smile and laugh.
My favorite part was some of the kids might not have gotten to experience it, but it was last year. And last year we had I think it was the block party when we had the cool like Bluetooth headphones and all the headphones were connected. I thought that was pretty cool. I really liked it. It was really fun for me. I wish that we could have done it again because that was really fun.
One of my favorite parts was like getting inspired by everybody whenever you could like see everybody what they made. That was definitely one of my favorite parts.
All right.
Like getting to try new things and getting to try different projects that I wouldn't have thought to try before.
Well, perhaps thank you all for all of those insights. It's really fun to hear from everybody. As we were preparing for this event today, we were talking about and challenging this group to think about what kinds of questions they wanted to be asked in the interviews. You know, what were the topics they really wanted to be speaking up about and starting conversations about. And one thing that really struck me was that a lot of the questions that you all came up with were they were really about community and sort of looking towards the future. So this next section is kind of around some of those questions that I thought were so interesting. So Suzanne, do you mind kicking us over to the next video, that social justice themed one? Thank you.
If I had a microphone and the whole world could hear what I said, I would tell them what's happening all over the world about global warming / climate change.
I would say for like politicians to listen to us and actually listen to the problems we are having.
People should share more because that's a big problem I've been seeing in this pandemic because people like go and hoard all the toilet paper and then no one else has any toilet paper. Definitely, that's a big problem.
I will tell people to stop ignoring the way that people are being treated because it's not nice and you need to learn how to respect people because you're not the only person in the world.
Something I want to change in the world is that if everybody could just be kind to everybody all the time, like no matter what. You never know what is happening in somebody's life, so just don't assume anything and just be nice to everybody all the time.
Respect everybody, like no matter their race, gender, nationality, like wherever they came from.
Don't hate or fight. Always be calm and love.
Don't bully people. Don't hate on people because of their race. It's not good for society. Because people are going through stuff. People are dying every day because of racial injustice.
We need to end these constant issues on the world so we will be able to live life in our happiest state and to the fullest.
If I had a microphone, I would probably say to make sure that everyone do what they want to do and always make sure that you're staying to your true self and you're never letting anyone else's assumptions or what they expect of you get the best of you.
We shouldn't be brought into like stereotypes and bad things like that because it makes people feel like they shouldn't be here and it really makes people upset.
Art can connect to social justice in so many ways, like they go hand in hand together.
I think we can connect art and social justice because art comes from all around the world. It can come from different people, different places, and different cultures.
You can use art to make a statement. I've seen like murals and stuff in more public spaces that have tons of meaning.
Some people connect to like movies, TV shows.
Rappers or singers, they put that in their music because everybody listens to music.
We've been making like posters in after school about what we feel passionate about. And I feel like if I put some art like maybe in the windows, it will get like my thoughts out there.
If you draw something that goes with social justice and you post it somewhere, you can get more publicly and people can learn about more about this thing and learn about them in a way that is helpful.
Art can tell you a lot in one drawing. The Black Lives Matter sign. It shows you a lot. It shows you that Black people are going through stuff and they're standing strong about it.
This year has been like a really big year for me, like learning like about social injustice, but I'm not really sure yet like how I can include it in my art. Like I think the first step for me is like just learning as much as I can about it.
When I see people who are like sad because they are bullied because of their skin color or body type, I try to make them feel beautiful in any way they are.
The world can be changed in small actions and ideas. It's just if a lot of people keep making small changes, then they will eventually add up.
Some advice I have for other people who want to change the world is just to always research before you do anything, because there's always something that you're not going to know what you're doing, even if you think you know everything about it, you don't.
Social injustices should not be ignored, and if you have the platform or the ability to do or say something about it, you have to be speaking up and talking about it.
That's really hard because I know kind of a lot about her. I know she has a cat that's really funny. He comes in the middle of it and he's like, you should be paying attention to me, not the screen. Named Buggy. I don't know if she told you about him. And I know she likes biking, and I got a bike recently, so I love biking too. Yeah, I'd probably ask her, how do you feel about racial injustice?
I think I'll throw that question from Breslin right over to Caitlin first. I know it was directed first at Caitlin, and then maybe we'll open it up to everyone else in a second.
Totally. I don't think I actually got a chance to introduce myself, or I forgot, but I'm Caitlin. I work at the Children's Museum and run the after school program with Kay. My pronouns are she, her. So what do I think about racial injustices? I think that racism and oppression are things that affect all of us. Obviously, a lot more than others, but once we realize that living in an anti-racist world is so much more than actually just like being kind to one another and being compassionate, which is a super important part of it, but actually that these systems, racist systems and oppressive systems, are ones that we are built up around us, and that they're written into our politics and into media, into the way that we build towns and cities and schools. And once we realize that those systems are very much like in place holding up racism, I think we have a better shot at tearing them down and working together to build better systems and communities that work for us and are not oppressive and are anti-racist, so that people can not only survive but thrive. And yeah, I think that art is a really beautiful way to speak out about those injustices, which is kind of what we were trying to do in after school, to build up our voices and strengthen our muscles on that aspect a little bit. Yeah, pass it to whomever wants to speak next.
Something, this isn't about racial, but something that I love is everyone at after school was so supportive. They were like the first person I came out to as lesbian, and so I'm so happy that you guys were so supportive of that.
Yeah, I agree with everything Caitlin has said. I wish there was a big Control Z on so many of the things that is happening in our world today and in the past. I wish we could just start over, but since we can't, or maybe we can, you know, maybe you guys can carry that torch into changing some of the systems that we have and dismantling them and, you know, creating something that's better. We're all on this big world together, and we have to learn how to coexist with each other and get along with each other. And, you know, the systems that we have in place, they don't work. So if we all just keep moving forward and fighting towards those things that don't work for us and creating a better society and a better world, I think we'll be in a much better place.
Yeah, I want to like echo everything that folks said thus far. Just sort of like build on that I think creativity plays a big part in changing the way that people think about injustice and race. And I think as educators and learners, we have an opportunity to be part of that turning point. And I think like, I love after school for this reason, because going back to those thoughts about during after school, we have such great conversations while we're making. I think part of the change happens during those conversations when we're just hanging out and building something together, literally building something and making something. We're also building that sense of community. And that is a fight to dismantle those systems that we were talking about.
I don't want to speak over anyone if there's anyone else who wants to say something. So maybe I'll give it just another couple seconds and then we can transition. I think one thing that, if it wasn't clear before, is probably very clear by now. The amount that we as educators have been really inspired by the after schoolers this year, and the amount that we have just really loved working and learning from each other. I want to also add in, I just got a comment from Eben. These constant issues will not be fixed until we all help fix them together, and like really an emphasis on together. Thank you, Eben, for sharing that. And also, Louise, I wanted to honor your comment earlier too. Thank you for sharing as well. The last video clip that we have is one that felt particularly inspiring to me. If any of you are looking for inspiration and advice for the future, like listen up to this clip. There's a lot of really good stuff in here. We were really excited to hear from after schoolers, like their advice for other people working on these things. So Suzanne, if you wouldn't mind lining up our last video clip.
Well, I've learned a lot of things.
I've learned more ways of how to like do my art in a better way, or learn more techniques.
I've learned new different writing techniques. I've learned new different styles of art.
I've learned weaving, how to make a terrarium, how to grow plants, how to make mosaics, and how to make cultural art like batiking and bandanas.
I've learned how to draw people a lot better, and I've learned how to draw objects and 3D shapes.
While making art, I learned that I was a fast learner, and I learned that it helps me calm down whenever like I'm upset.
I've like discovered a lot of things about myself. Like I'm really like talented at like drawing, and I didn't really like think of myself before this as a like talented drawer.
What I've learned is that you don't have to just be given a project to do, prompts, and to really give yourself a space to be inspired and let you express yourself.
One of the things I've learned about myself is that you're always more creative than you think.
The type of art I want to make in the future, I would like to be like voice acting and things like that for like TV shows, because not only is it fun, it also makes me feel like I'm not working.
In the future, I want to do like fashion design and like see how it can work on different body types and stuff.
I hopefully want to get good at drawing tigers, and I want to paint the side of the house a tiger, and then there's like people in the background carrying a tiger, and it's like you can see what's happening, and like how half of it is like a dead forest and like the other half is a tiger hiding in like a lush forest, and like what's happening over the world.
There's many different types of art out there, so I can't really choose on which one that I want to make just yet. But I would probably want to like draw and make like weird creatures and stuff.
In the future, I'd probably want to do more with painting. I'd practice it more because I realized it's not with like markers, like my main thing, I don't have as much control over it. I have to like just practice it more, but that's probably what I'd want to do.
I've always wanted to hydro dip. You like mix paint and like some other stuff to like make a color, and then you like get like a mug or something white, and then you like dip it in, and then there's like different colors, so you can make like different designs with it. It just looks really fun, and you can like mix colors to make it like a black and red shoe or something.
So I really see myself allowing my graphic design to really help my business, but also to, in the future, if I notice anything or any social injustices, that I can allow my art to spread the message and share the word.
For other kids who want to make art, my words of advice are to not give up and keep practicing, because even though like you feel like you want to give up and that it's hard, you'll get better at it if you keep practicing.
I would say, what are you passionate about? What do you like? What do you want to change? And then find a medium you like, and then just go at it and practice at it until you like what you do.
I would just say, let yourself be you, and don't look at somebody else's art and be like, oh, theirs is so much better than mine.
Don't pressure yourself to make it look good. You don't have to worry about people's opinions about your art. If it looks good to you, that's all that matters.
Allow yourself to make the art that you want to look at and that you want to create.
Nobody else can judge your art.
Your art is made by you, and it doesn't matter what other people think. You should continue making art and don't get discouraged, you know?
Just keep practicing at like what you like best, and then you'll start getting better and better at it, and then you'll enjoy it more once you get better at it.
Make where your mind takes you. It's okay to express your emotions, and one way that you can express them is through art.
Just go for it. Like there's, again, like no limits. Like there are no rules to it at all. Just do whatever you want with it. If I could ask you or Caitlin a question, I would definitely ask, what brought you to this point in your life? I'm curious about that because there are so many different life paths that you could choose. Like art, it's like virtually endless. So there's so many different possibilities, and you can't just like assume one.
Thank you, Marina. I love that question to end on. And I'm curious to hear from anyone who's interested in sharing about what has brought you to where you are at this point in your life. But maybe I'll pass this one off to Devin first of all, and then we can take it from there. Anyone else who wants to hop in?
Sure. So I agree, art is endless. And I think that like I've always had a pretty difficult time choosing one path in life, which kind of, I guess, led me to this work, because teaching and like making and STEAM education, it's not really just about one thing. I think it's more about being curious and having a sense of discovery. And this kind of work has, I found, like really, after a lot of trial and error with trying different things throughout life, it's really satisfies my curiosity to like play and tinker and experiment with lots of different mediums of art. And beyond, right? Like it's not, you can take art and apply it to lots of different things. So I feel like this work is a way to connect creativity to everything else in life in that way. And like the most important part about this work is I get to share it with other people too, as a teacher and a learner.
Thank you, Devin. Does anyone else want to pop in?
I think, yes, a lot of that resonates with me too, Devin. I love learning, but just like never really learned best in formal schooling. So did a lot of learning outside of school and pursuing things on my own. So thinking about how other people learn and trying to design those spaces has been really exciting to me. And is how I wound up at the Children's Museum. And I think some of that was like a thought that I had and a direction I wanted to head in. And some of that was just kind of the way the wind was blowing in the moment is how I wound up doing exactly what I'm doing right now. Because yeah, so much about life can change on a daily basis, but just knowing that to feel fulfilled through work would mean getting to do creative things and getting to share those things with folks So yeah, that's kind of how I wound up where I am now.
That is such a, I don't know, it's an interesting question. You guys picked a hard question for us to end on. I come from a family of creatives. My mom sings and she went to school for fashion design. And then my dad was a photographer and he was also a beautician. And then I went to performing arts school. I always wanted to be an actress, actually. And I love music as well. And I love science. And I actually got into teaching through an internship, actually. I was going to art school and I had to fulfill an internship credit. And I tried it out and I thought it was pretty interesting. And I continued to do it. I just love art. I love being creative. And I love learning. I'm very curious about a lot of things. So being in this field allows me to learn about a lot of different things all at once. So that's kind of how I wound up here, actually.
Yeah, on a similar note, I think, to everyone else, I just love making things. I always have. And I also really enjoy problem solving, which if you're making anything, it usually involves some amount of problem solving. And then doing that with other people just is like even more fun. So when I found out that I could do that for a living, I was like, why would I not do that?
Are there any after schoolers who want to add in any final thoughts before we wrap this up? Good.
I just wanted to say, no, you can go ahead.
No, go ahead, Louise, it's fine.
I just wanted to say thank you for this amazing opportunity, and after school was so much fun, and I hope you get to do it again. It was just so amazing.
Yeah, what I was going to say was basically identical to what Louise just said, but yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I also just want to say thank you. I had a lot of fun being in this group.
Yeah, thank you so much, because after school has been a big part of my life throughout middle school. Without after school, I don't think middle school would not have been much fun. It's been the most fun. It's been the most fun part of my middle school life. So I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for making us smile. Thank you so much for making us laugh. Thank you so much for letting us come out of our shell. Thank you so much for just helping us create things. And thank you so much for just being there for us when we needed you.
Well, I think I'm seeing a couple tears, maybe a couple on my own face too. I know that us as educators also really want to end this by thanking you as well. I want to invite anyone who wants to just turn on their screens for a second. No pressure, of course, but I would just really love to thank you all, honor your work and your time this year, and maybe we could just give you a quick little round of applause to end this out.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely afternoon. This was so fun to share this space together.
Yes. You guys have a great summer.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.